Oh, why is my camera not working? Hang on. That's irritating. And then flip back to that one. Cool, my camera's working again. That was really strange. So I thought I'd do something different. I think this is going to be one mostly for YouTube for later on, just so I can send it to people if they're wanting to learn about this. Basically, I love Yu-Gi-Oh! And if I could, I would be playing it every week, but unfortunately we can't because we're in lockdown, so yay. All those shops are opening at the moment. Anything that requires being able to sit in the shop for a while and be social, those aspects are still very limited. So the only way to play Yu-Gi-Oh! At the moment is online or over a webcam, things like that, which is it's less than ideal, and it's not the same to me. I play Yu-Gi-Oh more for the social aspect, being able to socialize with friends. But for me, that's probably bigger than actually playing the game itself. So although you can play Yu-Gi-Oh at the moment using these other methods, personally, it's just not the same feel for me. That being said, I've always loved playing a deck called Heroes, which is this mat you can see here. And I'm part of a few groups on Facebook, and it's all about trying to play the deck as well as possibly can be done. It's not a tier one deck by any means, but it's close. It's close at the moment. Probably it's like a strong tier two contender. But I believe the deck can be good. I've topped regionals myself with it, and I know a lot of people have. However, anybody that's new to playing Heroes might not know how to play it as optimally as it can be done. So I'm hoping that this can serve as a bit of a guide to help people out. I have written a guide. I've written a 60-page guide on how to play the deck, and I'm basically going to kind of work through that, but in a more interactive way by talking on here. So I'm hoping this will help people at some point. So let's get into the deck. This is my deck, and I thought I would start off just by going through this. As a quick note, this deck is designed to go second and not first. It's my opinion that going second with Heroes is much better than trying to go first. The going first board for Heroes consists of either Dark Law, Plasma, Sunrise, and on their own they're quite powerful, but with your opponent still having all their resources, they can probably get through it. However, if you go second and use big blowout cards and then follow that up with the Dark Law, or even OTK them and finish them that turn, then they are going to struggle a lot more than if you was just to go first. So that's how I feel about it. I'll run through the deck, and I'll run through like what cards are in here and how they're used. So first up, we'll go through the Destiny Heroes. I'm only playing 4. So there's 2 Malicious, 1 Celestial, and 1 Plasma. If I could play more Malicious, I definitely would. Malicious is amazing. This guy, his effect is when he's sent to the graveyard, if he's in there, I can remove him from the graveyard and summon another one of him from the deck. He's been around for years and years and years, and he is incredible at what he does. He lets the board extend further. He lets you climb up with link laddering, and he can even just become a Dark Lord as well. If you've got him on the field and you've got a mass change, he's just a Dark Lord, so he's really good. Celestial, I am running the Fusion Destinies. I believe that Fusion Destiny is the best card that Heroes have at the moment. They are. It is an incredible 1-card combo, and I've seen people cutting it, and it is definitely the wrong choice. This card on its own has so much power, which we will go into later. But to use this, you have to have Destiny heroes in your deck. You can send Malicious, but most of the time you've probably sent him anyway, off like Vial. So it's good to have like a second target. Celestial in the deck as well. Having a level 4 target for a Destiny hero allows you to use Destiny hero Dystopia and have his burn effect live. Is it labelled as Mario Maker 2? It shouldn't be labelled as Mario Maker 2. My bad. I did take that off. Hang on. I don't think there's anything I can... there we go. Update. Okay. Thank you for that, ZDB. I'll also talk about, like, as you just said, hero decks are annoying to play against. What we're going to do is talk about it, and I'll also talk about the weaknesses the deck have. So if you're finding the deck annoying to play against, then hopefully that will help you out to try and counter the deck when you're playing against it yourself. There is a Mega Hydrate now. Just because people were spamming the Hydrate button for the 10 of, I've got Super Hydrate now as well. Just to save people from doing that. Destiny Hero Plasma, by the way, he's incredible. Takes 3 cards to summon him. 3 monsters to summon him. However, when he's on the field, all your opponent's effects on the field are negated. So that is an incredible Omni-Negate effect. A lot of players will struggle to get over this. 1900 attack isn't that strong. However, if you've also got like Sunrise on the field, or you've got Honest Neos in your hand, then this guy can be very difficult to out on his own. He's an incredibly good card. That's basically just the Destiny Hero package. We will go into like the combos of how these cards work later on, but that's all of the Destiny Hero cards that I use. Next up, we have the Elemental Heroes. These guys are the oldest of the heroes. They've been around for ages, and you'll probably recognise some of them. So first up, the main guy, Elemental Hero Stratus. This guy has been banned. He's been put to 1. He is super useful, and I'm so glad he's back at 3. Stratus has 2 effects. When he's summoned, you can search for a hero, or when he's summoned, you can destroy a number of spell and trap cards on the field up to the number of other hero monsters you control. Even if there's another Stratus, because it doesn't say Stratus and it says other hero monsters, you can still pop cards up to that number. And he doesn't target. So he's really good for being able to get rid of back row. Like, a lot of decks at the moment, like, can go first. Some of them want to set up the Buster Dragon lock, which is an equip monster, a monster that gets equipped to one of your monsters by the Union Carrier. And it basically says any cards, your opponent cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck. However, if you've got access to Stratus and any other hero that you can place on the board first, that means that you can destroy the Buster Dragon and then just continue with your combo as normal. So Stratus is definitely one of the best cards in the deck. I regularly trigger in him 2, maybe 3 times per combo, just because he helps deep draw your deck out, and he's so good for that. So good. Next up, we have a nice utility card, Elemental Hero Solid Soldier. If you ever played Satella Knights, this is effectively Satella Knight... which one is it? This Vega. This is Satella Knight Vega. So if Solid Soldier's summoned, you can special summon another Elemental Hero from your hand. So he's super useful. It's got to be level 4 or lower, but you basically use Solid Soldier to summon into Stratus and just have 2 monsters on the board. You can use then either of Stratus's effects, which are great. Solid Soldier has another effect as well, though, which is really, really busted. If he's on the field and he is sent to the graveyard by a spell effect. So if he's sent to the graveyard by the effect of Polymerization or Mass Change, or he can be sent to the graveyard even with Lightning Storm, you can target a level 1 hero monster in your graveyard and special summon it back. It's not restricted by level, but it does allow for some really nice recovery. You still can't special summon things like Dark Law, for example, though, just because Dark Lord himself has a summoning restriction. Next, we have Liquid Soldier. Elemental Hero Liquid Soldier is very new and super powerful. Having the water attribute alone is so good, just being able to give us access reliably into absolute zero again. But his effect is when he is summoned, you can special summon back a hero from your graveyard that's level 4 or lower. And that effect is so powerful. It allows us to have so much recursion, but the best effect that this guy has, in my opinion, is his other effect. If he is sent to the graveyard or banished as a fusion material, he can allow you to draw 2 cards from your deck and then discard 1. Now, the reason this is like super useful is because you use his effect after you've gone through all of your combo. So you've already reduced the quantity of cards in your deck as low as possible, and you're not going to end up drawing any pieces that you don't want. So hopefully when you use him, you've got a higher chance of drawing into the things that you do want, which is really, really useful. Unfortunately, you can only use either of his effects once per turn. So if you've used the summoning effect, you can't use the drawing effect. Whereas Solid Soldier, you can use both, and Stratus is unlimited too. Liquid Soldier is limited to just one, unfortunately. The final elemental hero we have is Shadow Mist. Shadow Mist effects are so good. If she's sent to the graveyard, you can search for any hero card, and if she's special summoned, you can search your deck for Mass Change. That's the effect you probably want to use most, unless you've already hard drawn into Mass Change at the start of your turn. If you've hard drawn Mass Change, then feel free to use her search effect. But being able to search into Mass Change is so useful, because that just sets up Dark Lore and will give your opponent such a hard time. They're the one more elemental hero. I completely missed him. Honest Neos. This card's really good to search into, just to give yourself a bit of an extra protection or allow you to OTK. Honest Neos effect is when you can just discard him from your hand to the graveyard and give any hero monster an additional 2,500 attack. So even just Stratus, if you summon Stratus and search for this and discard this onto the same Stratus, you're looking at a 4,300 attack power monster for one normal summon, which is incredible. But you can also use him and go even bigger with things like Vision Hero Trinity and have a monster that's on 7,500 attack turn 1. Turn 2, you wouldn't do it turn 1. But yes, that's all of the elemental heroes. The smallest lineup in this deck is the evil heroes. You only need a Dusted Gold, and the only reason you only want one of him is to search into Dark Calling. He's a hero monster, so any card that says you can search a hero, like Stratus or Shadow Mist, you can search for this guy. If he's in your hand, you discard him to search for this, and this card is effectively Miracle Fusion for being able to summon out Malicious Bane. And I'll talk about him later, but this makes it such a free boss monster to be able to summon. It's just super useful. Last up for the monsters in the deck that are heroes are the Vision Heroes. Vision Hero Faris, Increase, and Vion. These guys are really useful. I didn't think about them so much. See you later, Bumblebee. I didn't think about these cards very much when they first came out. I did not give these the appreciation they deserve, but they are super useful. The reason I didn't is because, unfortunately, Faris, if you use his second effect, it locks you into being able to only use hero monsters, only summon hero monsters, sorry. And that's a bit of a downer on his effect, to be honest. But heroes do have... It doesn't lock you, like... It only locks you going forwards. So if you do combos before using Faris and you use other monsters that aren't heroes, that's absolutely fine. The same with Fusion Destiny. Fusion Destiny also locks you into only summoning heroes from that point onwards. So if you do everything you want to beforehand that's not including heroes, then great. Faris, his effect is you discard another hero in your hand to summon him. When he's summoned, you can place another Vision Hero into your spell and trap card zone as a continuous trap. So that becomes Increase. Increase's effect is to tribute a hero monster to special summon himself from this zone. When he is special summoned by that effect, you can then special summon a level 4 or lower vision hero from your deck, which is Vion. And Vion is the hero version of Armageddon Knight. You can send any hero from your deck to the grave. So you can send your Malicious to set him up, or you can send Shadow Mist and search again. Vion has a secondary effect as well, where you can banish a hero from your graveyard to then search for Polymerization. And that is probably his most powerful effect. Giving access to Polymerization and just being able to search it without committing anything additional to the deck that you probably don't want in there, that's super useful. And we'll go into the combos later on. Next up, we have the spell lineup. And we have quite a few spells. I'm going to take out anything that I would consider to be not the core. So I do have a lot of like blowout cards and things like that in the deck, which I'll discuss at the end as to why I think going second is best. But these are just the cards in the deck that are integral to playing heroes. So first up, we have a Hero Lives. And a Hero Lives is rightfully limited. Pay half your life point to special summon any elemental hero from the deck. So this card becomes a 1-card Dark Law. You can extend into a lot of things with this card. Like I say, I'll do the combos later, but this card allows you to special summon out. The two that you probably want to is either Stratus or Shadow Mist. So you get a search without using your normal summon, or you can search for the mass change by triggering the Shadow Mist. A Hero Lives is just incredible. Next, we have the search cards. So 3 emergency call and 1 reinforcement of the army. They basically do the same thing. This one also allows you to search for Vision Hero Vion, but it doesn't allow you to search for the evil hero Dust of Gold, because he is not a warrior, he is a fiend, unfortunately. The emergency calls let you search for any elemental hero, and that includes Honest Neos. It's not restricted to level. But having so many search cards just gives you so much consistency when you're playing the deck. Mass Change is at 3, and if you draw into it, it's amazing, because then you don't have to commit Shadow Mist Effect. You can commit Shadow Mist Effect as well if you want and have 2 of these, which is really good for protection and being able to summon a Dark Law after a Dark Law and really cause a lot of interruption to your opponent. And then the last 2 cards that are not mentioned, like the Fusion Destinies and the Dark Calling, is Polymerization and Miracle Fusion. Both of these cards can be searched from the deck by either Vion or by Sunrise, and both are really powerful cards. Finally, we have like the blowout cards that I would consider to be interruption. So I have Ash Blossoms. I'm considering changing these and putting in Nibiru again. I don't actually own Nibiru at the moment, but yeah, Ash Blossom. I still find Ash Blossom to be quite good. And then also for interruption in your opponent's turn, Infinite Impermanence as well. Having just timing either one of these cards correctly on your opponent can be really, really good. They would cause a lot of hassle for your opponent, especially if they don't think you have them as well. If you play it quite quietly and then just surprise your opponent at the correct time, it relies upon knowing what the other person's deck does. The more you know about other decks, the more you can be able to combat against them correctly. And then the last cards that I have are Lightning Storms and Evenly Matched. These cards are incredible blowout cards. If you open 1 or 2 of them and your opponent's gone full combo, like they've probably got the ability to stop one of them, but not both, and it's gonna cause a lot of hassle for them. I'm loving Lightning Storm. Lightning Storm is so good at just being able to take on either back row decks or monster heavy decks. Same for Evenly Matched. Evenly Matched can reduce a board down very quickly. Some people play Evenly Matched wrong. I've seen it happen a lot of times in matches. If you have 2 of these in your hand, you can use both. So if your opponent has a negate on board and you go to the battle phase and you see the end of the battle phase and you use Evenly Matched and they negate it, that's fine. You can use the other one. You're not obliged to immediately exit your battle phase. and I've seen people lose to not realizing you can actually do that. But that's the main deck. I think one thing I should mention is that I don't play any spell and trap interruption, so things like MST, Cosmic Cyclone, Twin Twisters, that kind of thing in the main deck. And that's mainly because my locals doesn't run Mystic Mine as a heavy card. And there's not many people that are running that in locals at the moment. However, it is a card I would definitely strongly consider to put in. Next up, we have the extra deck. And this is where the power of the heroes comes in. I mean, most decks, their power comes from the extra deck anyway. Where did I put the extra deck? Hang on, it's here. So, first up, we have the Destiny Heroes. And these get summoned primarily off of Fusion Destiny. However, you can use Polymerization to make them as well. So I've got two Destiny Hero targets, Dangerous and Dystopia. Honestly, I summon Dangerous a lot more than I ever summoned Dystopia. And just because Dangerous has a much wider summoning condition, his is a Destiny hero plus a dark effect monster, whereas Dystopia is two Destiny heroes. So if you want to make Dystopia because you're like in time and you want to cause the burn damage, then Dystopia is very powerful. Dystopia also has this destroying effect. So if his attack is different to his original attack, so if Sunrise is on the field, or if you put Honest Neos on him, or even if you run like tech cards like Destiny Hero Dynatag, then you can change his attack, and then he's got a quick effect to destroy a card on the field, which can be very interruptive on his own. Dangerous though, his effect is very rarely used, and you can send a Destiny hero monster from your hand or deck to the graveyard by discarding a card, and then he gains attack. Destiny hero monsters gain attack. It doesn't gain that much attack and is very pointless, and you probably never want to use his effect because by the time you actually find it relevant, it's become irrelevant because you've already set your grave up. So it doesn't seem worthwhile. However, being able to make this guy off of one card, Fusion Destiny, putting Malicious in the grave and Shadow Mist to potentially summon the Shadow Mist back later on, or to do the search, can give you so much value that this guy is just too valuable to not want to play in the deck. That's the Destiny Heroes. Next up we have the Elemental Heroes. And I actually run 3 of these, surprisingly. So the first up is Sunrise. Sunrise is new to the hero deck and is incredibly good. He gives you battle protection in that when an attack is declared on any other hero monster that's not him, you can destroy a card on the field. And it's not once per turn. So this guy has got an incredible effect. You have to attack over him if you're attacking me. That has to be the first one to go. Unless you negate his effect. Secondly, he, on summon, searches for Miracle Fusion, which allows you so much recovery and extension that this guy is just so good. He has a third effect as well, because apparently those two weren't good enough, in that he gives 200 attack to every monster you control for every different attribute you control. So he's already giving 200 to everything because of himself. And if you summon a Dark, everything gains 400. He is so good. Because he searches Miracle Fusion, it's led to have 2 more elemental heroes in the deck of Absolute Zero and Escuridao. Absolute Zero, for obvious reasons. This is the main go-to Miracle Fusion target that most people like. Not only because Absolute Zero is a monster, it comes out at 2500 attack, and he gains attack from this as well if he's still around. He also gains 500 attack for every water monster on the field. But the best part about him is if he ever leaves the field, not if he's destroyed, if he leaves the field, destroy all monsters your opponent controls. So this can be a really blowout card too. Escuridao is in here as well, just for the fact he's dark. Sometimes you are getting locked into using dark monsters. For example, with the Fusion Destiny, you're locked to both hero and dark, which this guy meets. But also, this guy with Polymerization allows you to get out of certain situations that you might not have been able to before. And having that ability and utility is so good. Also, it is possible to summon both of these in the same game, because Wonder Driver can reset Miracle Fusion as well as Polymerization or Mass Change to be able to do this again. So having that in the deck is a really strong option. The evil heroes, we only have the one, Malicious Bane. Like I said before, if you've got a Dusted Gold in your deck and you search it out, a Dusted Gold then searches for the Dark Calling, and Dark Calling can summon this. The requirements to summon this is a evil hero and a level 5 or higher monster. So you've got Faris and Malicious and Plasma and any of the big fusions that are in there. But most of the time you're summoning it off of the Dusted Gold that's in the graveyard and the Faris that's still in the graveyard. And then you can make him. He cannot be destroyed by battle or by card effects. And once per turn, you can destroy all monsters your opponent controls with an attack less than or equal to him, and then he gains 200 attack for every monster destroyed permanently. He is an incredible powerhouse of a card. If you combo him with Honest Neos too, he destroys every monster your opponent controls with an attack equal to or less than 5,500, and there's not many that can survive that blast. So he's an incredible card. He's really useful. The most I've found him to be useful for is following up after being Nibiru'd, because he can destroy Nibiru in retaliation, and then hopefully having a mass change set left over, you can still make Dark Law through him too. So he is really powerful and super useful for the deck. Next up we have the Masked Heroes. I play 4. I play Masked Hero Acid, Masked Hero Anki, and 2 Masked Hero Dark Laws. Acid, when Acid is special summoned, you can destroy all spell and trap cards your opponent controls, and then your opponent's monsters lose 300 attack. So this card is a Harpy's Feathered Duster on his summon, really powerful. Anki, 2 effects, both are kind of useful. I don't make him often, but he is still useful for the utility that he provides. Anki can attack directly, and if he does so, the attack is halved. So you can just do 1400 direct, and then you can put Honest Neos on that as well for a lot of direct damage. Anki's secondary effect though is probably more useful, and you can only use one of them at a time, because if he destroys a monster and sends it to the graveyard as a result of battle, you can search your deck for Mask Change. So if you make him first in a battle, the way you're going to try and do as much damage as you can make this guy first, attack over something, search for a Mass Change, and then make it into Dark Law. Dark Law, however, is probably the strongest hero monster in the deck. He is Macrocosmos on legs. Any card sent to your opponent's graveyard is banished instead, which is incredibly strong. Being able to deny your opponent grave recursion, and it also prevents Pendulum monsters, because Pendulum monsters get banished too. They don't go to the extra deck when Dark Law is on the field because of the game mechanics. It's just so powerful. Orcus basically lose to this. Adamanspators, they can lose to this. Eldritch, they can lose to this. This card is a 1-card powerhouse just because of his effects. It has another effect too. If your opponent adds a card from the deck to the hand, and I'm very careful with how I word that because it does say add a card from the deck to their hand. So that can be either searching or drawing. It doesn't matter. I can banish 1 card at random from their hand. It's a once per turn, but it's a once per turn for each Dark Law. So if I have two of these on the field, I can take 2 cards from my opponent. And being able to reduce the resources down that my opponent has is really strong. Next up we have the only other one in the deck, the Vision Hero, and it's Trinity. Trinity is your OTK machine. This guy can win games single-handedly. If your opponent is silly enough to give you a monster that cannot die in battle, like a Galatea, and you can point to it, this card will win. This card will win you the game. Especially if it's Galatea. Galatea and Trinity. Trinity's effect is, the turn he is fusion summoned, his attack becomes double his original attack, so he comes out at 5,000 attack. Also, every turn, he can attack 3 times. So if you've got a monster on your opponent's side of the field that cannot die, like Galatea, you can attack into Galatea 3 times and rack up 9,600 damage over her, which will be game. The only drawback of Trinity, however, is he cannot attack directly, but that's not usually a problem. You've usually done enough damage by then anyway. Next we have the Link monsters for the deck. Cross Crusader is really, really good. He's both a monster reborn for Destiny Heroes and also a pseudo Stratus. However, when you use either of his effects, you are locked into heroes. And this guy does, unlike Faris and Fusion Destiny, this guy does look backwards as well as forwards. So if you summoned a monster that's not a hero in the turn, you unfortunately cannot use Cross Crusader's effects. However, that being said, he's really, really good. And Wonder Driver is also silly good. He has an effect where if he's destroyed, you can summon a hero from the hand, which is not used really that often at all. But his other effect is that if a hero monster is summoned to a zone he points to, you can get back a Polymerization, Fusion, or Change spell card from your graveyard and set it to the field. So you can set back Polymerization, you can set back Miracle Fusion, you can set back Fusion Destiny, or Mass Change 2, or any of the generic fusions as well. Like you could really go to town and capitalize off of this guy. He can even set back Super Polymerization, which is really powerful. I've just been asked why no love for Masked Hero Blast. And personally, that's where this last card can come in. I've put in Earth Golem at Ignister, but ignore this. This could be anything, to be honest. You'll also notice I don't run Dread Decimator because I don't feel like he's relevant anymore now we've got the new Master Rule. And this card could be anything you want. You could run a Miracle, another Miracle Fusion target. You can run Super Poly targets like he is. So things like Mud Dragon of the Swamp you could run, or even the Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. Or you could run a bigger lineup to any of these. So for Vision Heroes you could run in Adoration. The Masked Heroes, Blast is a really good card. I'm not going to say he isn't, because he is. He has some nice, really good effects. And if you've got a Mass Change in hand and you're summoning Stratus, if your opponent uses something like Infinite Impermanence, you can use the Mass Change to dodge out of it and still be able to get the search. So he's really good for that. The comment that Busy's just left in, that Masked Hero Blast there can only be one, which is true to an extent. However, that you can't, if they've already got there can only be one face on the field, you can't summon Stratus and then use Mass Change to go into Blast. You would have to chain Mass Change to the activation of there can only be one, because there can only be one even restricts being able to summon monsters even if you only control one, and at all points you would only be able to control one. You still can't activate something that would cause you to only summon into a warrior. It's a bit unfortunate how that works, but yes, you are right. If you do chain Mass Change to there can only be one while you control Elemental Hero Stratus, you can destroy there can only be one. Fortunately, there can only be one isn't very popular at the moment. It's a very strong card, and it's a card that you have to respect. If you're playing a back row deck, you're probably going to be seeing this. So something like a Subterra deck, or Draco, or possibly even Eldritch. I've not seen too many deck lists, but it is a card that you're going to have a lot of respect for. But yeah, that's basically my lineup for the deck, both the main and the extra deck. But yes, like I was saying earlier, I think going second is probably the better option. And I'll do a quick shuffle, and we'll do a quick couple of test hands. This is going to take a lot of shuffling considering it was in complete order. But I'll show off a couple of combos of what we can accomplish with heroes, and I'll try and work through them as best I can, explaining all of the steps along the way and why you do what you do while you're doing it. So I'm going blind at the moment. I have no idea what this hand is going to be. This could be completely amazing or completely garbage. So it's already incredible. It's off the chain at this point. So this hand is everything. The only downside to this hand is you've not drawn into any interruption. So I was hoping that this card would be something like Evenly Matched or Lightning Storm. That would have been really good. However, this lineup has a lot to offer. Now, Fusion Destiny. I've been telling people that this is an amazing card, but you have to use it correctly. Right now, it is an amazing card, but I would not use this first. In this hand, the first thing I'm wanting to use is Faris. I want to use this last because there are some monsters I would like to summon that are not dark. We can use a Dust of Gold at this point as well and just thin the deck out for that respect and get the Dark Calling for later. Now we're going to use the Faris, and we are not going to use the effect of Shadow Mist right now. We're just going to use the effect of Faris because I want to try and set up Dark Law. So being able to special summon this back out the grave is going to be very useful to us. So with Faris, Faris puts Increase in the spell and trap card zone. You can then tribute Faris for Increase and use Increase's effect to special summon Vion from the deck. Vion's effect will then send any hero from the deck to the grave, which is probably going to be Malicious at this point. I do want the Polymerization as well. So I'm going to banish Faris because it's the least useful thing in here. I need a Dust of Gold for the Dark Calling. I need the Shadow Mist to summon it back, forgetting the Mass Change, and Malicious still has yet to be used. So we'll search Polymerization like that. Next up, we can link these two off and make our Cross Crusader. Cross Crusader on summon will special summon back the Malicious. And now we're in a good place because we can search by tributing the Malicious again for any hero. And we've still not normal summoned, which is amazing. So at this point, I am going to get Elemental Hero Liquid Soldier, just because I really want to get that mass change. So my normal summon is going to be Liquid Soldier to special summon back the Shadow Mist, and then Shadow Mist can trigger to search as the mass change. So now we have access to Dark Law, which is really good. Next up, though, we would like to get a bit more on the field. We would like access to something else here. So there are a few things that we can go for. We still have the Fusion Destiny left over, but we need to consider what we would like to end on. And optimally, what that would be is Sunrise, and possibly having the option of going into Wonder Driver too. Unfortunately, I don't have enough resources to be able to do both. So we will go for the stronger. I don't know which I would consider to be the stronger of the two plays, because both have the benefits. Either way, we'll be losing Malicious next, and this is where you can take it in two different directions. You can either link two monsters off to go into the Wonder Driver, or you can use Polymerization to fuse these two together and make Sunrise. It depends what you want to do, and it depends on the deck you're facing. If you're not scared of something like Dark Ruler No More or Infinite Impermanence at this point, then maybe going for Sunrise is better. But if you are scared of those negate cards and you really, really want Dark Law to succeed, then going for the Wonder Driver is the better play here. However, we'll go for the Sunrise play. So Polymerization first to make these two into Sunrise. On Sunrise's summon, he is going to search for Miracle Fusion, which is going to give us even more resources for later on. I've added to my hand Dark Calling and Miracle Fusion this turn, and I won't be using either of them. Unless I'm going for an OTK, I want to hold these back as long as possible. We've done over 5 summons right now. So holding these back is going to be the best thing we can do, because these are very, very powerful recovery cards right now. At the moment as well, we've now got everything on the board, and we can't extend any further. So Fusion Destiny is our next card to follow up with, and we can make our Dystopia here. It will cost us the ability of going into Plasma later on, so Plasma is going to have to be sent here along with the Celestial that I run, and that allows us to summon out Dystopia. Dystopia on his summon is going to target Celestial in the graveyard and burn my opponent for 1,600 damage. I have won games off of this in time. This is such a powerful effect. But also, at the same time, having him on the field and Sunrise means this guy's attack is different to his original attack, and we now have a quick effect destruction. Also, I would be very tempted on summoning him in defense mode, the same as I did the Shadow Mist. And that is because Lightning Storm is a very powerful card. Going first, being able to summon in defense mode is something that you need to remember to do, just so you don't walk into big traps like that. At this point, you would just set the mass change and you would pass turn. Hopefully your opponent doesn't Nibiru you, but if he does, it's still not the end of the day, because you then follow it up with Dark Calling and make Malicious Bane. Malicious Bane will then destroy the Nibiru, and you've still got your mass change to turn it into Dark Law. So it's still very powerful. You've got next turn plays galore, and that was a very strong board. Fusion Destiny can net you into so much. Just so much. It's a very strong card to do. And even if you only open Fusion Destiny, it can still get you into quite a lot of things you want. So let's for example, say we only have Fusion Destiny in our opening hand. All of the other 4 cards, like let's put 4 random cards in our opening hand that would be useless to us. This hand would be incredible. Like, this hand is insane. But going first, it's still not bad. So, Fusion Destiny first, because we have no other option in our opening hand. He's going to send the Malicious to the graveyard, and Shadow Mist, which is going to summon out our Dangerous. It doesn't matter about his effect, it just allows him to get these 2 in the graveyard. Next, we're going to use Malicious's effect to special summon another Malicious. Then these 2 will go to the graveyard to special summon out Cross Crusader. Cross Crusader can target either Dangerous or Malicious, it doesn't matter, because it's going to be immediately tributed with its other effect to search for Liquid Soldier. Liquid Soldier is then going to be immediately normal summoned to special summon back Shadow Mist, and that is going to allow you to search for the Mass Change, which you are then going to set on the field and pass to your opponent. Now, this is not a bad field off of 1 card, because this is Dark Law. Dark Law and a search in your opponent's turn, or it's a Harpy's Feather Duster in your opponent's turn. Unfortunately, you can't use Liquid Soldier's other effect when he's sent to the graveyard by Mass Change. It's quite unfortunate how it's worded, but Liquid Soldier has to be sent to the graveyard for a fusion material, as a fusion material. With Mass Change, he's being sent to the graveyard as a spell effect for the special summon of a fusion monster. However, it isn't a fusion material, so unfortunately it can't be used. But even this setup is still very powerful for just a 1-card combo. And that's assuming you've not got anything else useful in your hand. These were just 4 completely dead cards, and it still makes Dark Law, courtesy of Liquid Soldier. There are a lot of combos in this deck, but recently I found a really cool little side option that you can do. And it involves changing the extra deck completely to run a host of new cards and adding only 3 cards to the main deck. So the 3 cards you add to the main deck are the Phoenix Blade, Grappler Angler, and Mecha Phantom Beast O-Line. And these will become apparent during the combo. As for the extra deck, it requires a strong overhaul, but it is worth it, and I'll show you in the combo. So the cards we're going to be running are Isolde, Crystron Halqifibrax, Linkross, Cross Sheep, Martial Mecha Marcher, the Muddy Mud Dragon, and Invoked Macabre. With these cards, you can make Invoked Macabre and have full combo left over off of 2 warriors in hand. And I'll show you. So let's do a shuffle. And it can be any two heroes, which is really consistent for heroes to do. This hand gets you there. It might not look like it, but it does. So we summon Stratus, Stratus' effect will search for Faris. Now, I said before that Faris locks you into summoning heroes, but that's only if you use its second effect. Its first effect to summon itself, however, like this, does not lock you into heroes. So at this point, we're now going to link these two off and make Isolde, Two Tales of the Noble Knights. On her summon, she is going to search for any hero card we like, just for later on. And it can be anything, it doesn't matter. So we can have Honest Neos, which is a really strong card. We can't use it this turn, so it's a really good card to have left over. Isolde is then going to send one weapon to the graveyard to summon out our Grappler Angler. There are 4, I believe, different warrior tuner monsters that are level 1. This guy's effect isn't bad. It's probably never going to be used because you don't want to be normal summoning him, and it's probably just not going to stick around that long. If he attacks directly, you can special summon back one monster in your graveyard in defense position. It's a good effect, but it's probably never going to get used. At this point, we're just going to simply link these two off and make ourselves Crystron Halqifibrax. So, if this card is link summoned, you can special summon a level 3 or lower tuner monster from your hand or deck, which is going to be the O-Lion. Halqifibrax is then going to get linked off straight away into Linkross. Linkross will then summon us 2 tokens because it was summoned by a Link 2 monster. So we're going to summon out these 2 Link tokens. They are light and level 1, which is important. At this point, we can conduct our first synchro summon. So the O-Lion and the level 1 token are going to the graveyard to special summon out the Martial Mecha Marcher. At this point, you want to use 2 effects. You want to use the Martial Mecha Marcher's effect to special summon back O-Lion, and you want to use O-Lion's effect to special summon out a Mecha Phantom Beast token. So we're going to have both of those on the field now. The Mecha Phantom Beast token is level 3, which is also important, because that lets us now synchro these 2 cards into a level 6, which will go up to the Muddy Mud Dragon. Muddy Mud Dragon's effect is really cool, because he is both a fusion substitute card, in that he can be used for any named fusion material, and also he is polymerization himself, as long as he uses himself in the process. So now we have our light level 1, an O-Lion, and a Linkross. So the best thing to do now is to get rid of these 2 to the graveyard and special summon a Cross Sheep. Now we have these 2 left on the field, so I can use Muddy Mud Dragon's effect to fuse himself and a light monster, and I'm going to treat his name as Alistair the Invoker to summon out the Invoked Macabre. So this is the full combo off of 2 warriors to go into these 2 cards, Cross Sheep and Invoke Macabre. I also trigger Cross Sheep in the process here. I don't have to summon it here, I could summon it wherever I like, and I could use Cross Sheep's effect for later on if I wanted to. As we have Fusion Destiny in our hand, it does make it really powerful. Because at this point, if I wanted, I could have summoned Stratus. That's not a problem. But as I have Fusion Destiny in my hand at this point, I can now send to the graveyard 1 Destiny hero monster, which is going to be the Celestial. And I'm going to send to the graveyard my Shadow Mist too. That is going to summon out our good friend Dangerous underneath Cross Sheep. And then Cross Sheep I'm going to now trigger to special summon back the Shadow Mist. Shadow Mist is then going to trigger to add to our hand Mass Change. So we've managed to go full combo, and it's cost us very little to do so. We've only used 2 cards in our opening hand, plus a follow-up, to make Invoked Macabre and Darklaw. I can actually turn Dangerous into Darklaw as well. So if I do that in my opponent's turn, Darklaw is then going to be summoned underneath where Cross Sheep is, to then trigger Cross Sheep in my opponent's turn. So I can bring back Stratus, I can have another search, I can destroy spell and trap cards, or whenever I choose by just using the Mass Change. You don't have to make Cross Sheep either. So like if you did have extra extenders, you could run other things, like Appaloosa if you wanted to. But the most expensive card in this combo was the Halqifibrax. most people would have a Halki Fibrax anyway. It doesn't mean you have to commit to anything like super expensive. Even Macabre, although this is the card you end on, its highest rarity is like a $5. It comes in super rare, which is like cents on the dollar. It's super cheap, and it's such a good effect. Like right now, I could even keep the Infinite Impermanence in hand because I could then theoretically negate something like Evenly Matched with the Macabre. This guy is Dark Law is going to be causing a lot of disruption anyway. Hi Ethan, how are we doing? So I really love this different variant of heroes because you can literally just start it off of any two warriors in the hand, which is just incredible. And like I said, the only cards you have to add into the main deck are the Sword, the Grappler Angler, and the O-Line. It's a bit of a shame, however, because if you were to draw either of these two cards, you can draw the O-Line because Halki Fibrax can summon from hand. However, if you draw either of these two cards, you would have to commit the normal summon to this guy. Or if you draw the Sword, you just can't summon this guy off of Isolde. Which isn't a problem. It isn't too much of a problem, just because, although you can't use this, you can still do hero combos. You still commit enough of the rest of your extra deck. It requires these 7 cards to do it. However, the rest of the extra deck will be heroes, purely heroes, so you can do anything you want to after that point. The best way of doing this combo as well is if you can do the full combo without committing Faris. So if you've started 2 emergency calls, or you can go so far. So let me show you the best one-carder in the game. A Hero Lives. A Hero Lives with this build is so good, it's just busted. So the Hero Lives, summon Stratus. Stratus' effect, guess what? Let's find another Stratus. Normal summon, Stratus. Effect of Stratus is going to search as the Faris. We are then going to link these two together to make ourselves Isolde, Two Tales of the Noble Knights. We're then going to use her effect to search our deck for anything we really didn't care about. So it can't be increase. It can't be anything that we're going to be summoning, but it's got to be something that we probably don't care about. So I would say Liquid Soldier in this scenario, because we've already committed our normal summon. It's probably not going to be too relevant to us. Next effect of Isolde is going to send to the graveyard our Sword to special summon out the Grappler Angler. We are then going to link summon these two up to the Halki Fibrax, which is going to summon out the O-Lion. We're then going to link this into Linkross. Linkross is going to summon out our 2 tokens again, once I find them. And then we can Synchro Summon and make the Marshall Mecha Marcher, Marshall's effect and O-Line's effect to summon out some tokens for us. We are then going to Synchro Summon these 2 guys and go up to the Muddy Mud Dragon. We're then going to link these 2 off and go into the Cross Sheep. And then we're going to use these 2 to become Macabre again. So we're in a good position already. We are in a really good position right now. Now we can use Faris. We've gone all this combo, and now we're going to lock ourselves into using heroes only. So Faris' effect is now going to put Increase here. We're then going to tribute the Faris to special summon Increase. Increase's effect is going to special summon as the Vion. Vion's effect is going to send us a hero to the graveyard, and it can be anything. Probably going to be the Malicious at this point in time. We can then link these 2 together into Cross Crusader. Cross Crusader is going to bring back. I should have added a polymerization as well there, so I'll just do that now. We can add polymerization in this combo too. Cross Crusader can then tribute off the Malicious to search for any non-dark hero, specifically non-dark. So at this point, I'm probably going to have to grab a liquid soldier, a stratus, or a solid soldier. I'll grab a solid soldier. It doesn't matter too much. I can then fuse together these, which is going to go up into the Sunrise. Sunrise can then search for Miracle Fusion, and unfortunately we've not been able to get a Shadow Mist in the grave yet, which isn't... It's a little bit annoying, but it's not too bad. But we can still now go for Stratus off of the Cross Sheep as well. Make sure you put Cross Sheep Chainlink 1 too, because if you don't, Stratus is going to miss its activation window. So then we're going to complete the search that we were doing with the Sunrise. I can now get a search off of this, which is going to give us a... wherever it is. Evil Hero at Dusted Gold. We can then discard a Dusted Gold to add Dark Calling. So, we're now stood on Macabre, Stratus, Cross Sheep, and Sunrise with Miracle Fusion and Dark Calling left in hand off of one card. That was just off of a Hero Lives. That was irrespective of any of the other 4 cards in my hand, which so I should still have 4 other cards in hand right now. And we've left with this, just off of a Hero Lives. This variant is super busted. It just pushes that ceiling a little bit higher. I've seen people using Isolde and having like 5, 6 equips in the deck to be able to summon out the Shadow Mist or the Stratus again. But I much prefer just running the 1 to be able to go into this variant. It requires a little bit of extra deck commitment. However, it pushes the ceiling of the deck just that little bit higher without having to make your deck too inconsistent, because it's only 3 additions to the main deck. So I really like this variant. It's such a good build. Next up, I'll just quickly discuss some like tech card ideas that we can use as well. Because there's a lot of different variants of heroes that you can use, different methods, different cards and things to do. So my side deck to start off with needs some work because I've not been playing for a while. Just because of the quarantine, but I've stayed in touch with like the meta. So Drawling Lockbirds, Call by the Graves, Dark Ruler No More, Super Polymerization, and Twin Twisters. All of these cards are just incredible. Drawling Lock plus Dark Claw is really, really interruptive. Like, you allow your opponent the 1 search, you steal a card out their hand, and then lock them out of doing it for the rest of the turn. Drawling Lock really deserves a lot of praise. It's such a good card. Call by the Grave as well. Call by the Grave is really good for if you're against a deck that you know is grave reliant, or if they have a lot of hand traps, or if you think you're going to get sent first as well. Like, there are a lot of players at the moment who would prefer to go second, myself included. So you could actually side in a way where you know you're going to be put in that position, so you can side to go first and use cards like Call by the Grave, or even the new Nobleman card will be coming out soon. It's really good. Dark Ruler No More. This card could go main. Very easily go main. If you're going for a blind second deck, this card, it blows cards out the water. Like, if your opponent's playing just a pure monster spam deck, or if we're in a meta where there's a lot of monster spam decks out there, Dark Ruler No More is going to be your next best friend. Super Polymerization, likewise to Dark Ruler. These 2 cards just can't be responded to. This card can be stopped by spells and traps, but this card can't be used for any cards like this. what do you mean, Rogue Hero? And Twin Twisters. Twin Twisters is going to be super good for things like any back row heavy decks and things like that. It's really, really useful. Back row decks can be one of the hardest things for heroes to overcome, actually. So running Interruption is very useful. I've also included a lot of other cards that people might find useful to play. So various spells, traps, and monsters that would be good to use. Depends on what budgets you're working on as well. So first up we have anything that affects the grave. So these 3 cards, if you're in a format, or even if like your locals, you're finding yourself against a lot of grave reliant decks like Orcust or Unchained, things like that, these cards can really help you against them. Just being able to stop what they're doing and interrupt them. They don't do anything. Yeah, I know. Artifact is very slow at the moment. It all depends on the format. Personally, I've already been through what I would consider to be the best options. Just play Negra Valley Cleafort. I mean, Negra Valley is an amazing card, but I don't want to shut myself down in the process. DD Crow is probably the most versatile of these options, and probably the one I would go for if I'm wanting some great interruption. Fantastical Dragon Phantasme. Like, this card in Heroes is... I don't know how I feel about it, because it doesn't give as much as you would want it to. Sometimes, like, if you're doing it in your turn, you're probably not going to want to have anything on board. And if you're playing cards like Infinite Impermanence and Evenly Matched and Lightning Storm, which I personally prefer over this, you can't use them if he's on the field. So this card's good, but not for right now. Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit also depends on what decks you're against. And oh god, I mean, I know you've just mentioned it, but I would love Maxx C to come back. I'm one of the guys on the board of yes, please bring back Maxx C. I absolutely love Maxx C. It's an amazing card. I think I would love to see it come back, but then again, there are a lot of reasons as to why not. Ghost Ogre, yeah, it's good. It depends what you're against, so it might be one to consider. Kind of the same for Pancratops, but Pancratops is a bit naff also, because if you're summoning him in your turn, yeah, he causes the interruption, but he's very inconsistent because he's at 1, and also if you summon him, you can't use your Cross Crusader, which is it does kind of suck a little bit. I also do wish a Hero Lives gets unlimited, but I just did a combo where you could see the power that one card has. It's insane. As for spells, random spells you could do, just these cards. Any back row removal is probably your best things. I've already gone over like the biggest interruption cards that heroes can use, like the Super Polymerization, which can reset with Wonder Driver, which is amazing. Dark Rule No More and Lightning Storm, they're probably your best, but these are quite good spells as well. And then the trap cards. And Anti-Spell Fragrance is a good shout, but also depends on what format you're in. There's not a lot of decks at the moment which are spell heavy, unless you really hate the mirror match. But if you're in the mirror match anyway, going first is probably the strongest option because Dark Law puts in so much work. I don't think Pendulums are really meta at the moment, just because they've been nerfed a lot. And I don't really know of many meta Pendulum decks, like tier 1, tier 2 kind of thing. But the only other spell card that I would definitely consider is Mystic Mine. This card will cause your opponent to get so salty and they will hate you for it. But the reason they hate you for it is because it is a good card at what it does. I personally don't run it. I would like to see this card just get banned, but that's my own personal thing. It's a great card. I would prefer to OTK more than to try and control, but if you are more of a control player, this is an amazing card. You can't say it's not. It is incredible. As for traps can tend to be quite slow. Traps kind of have a bit of slowness to them, so only certain ones I would consider to be like the top draw of trap cards. This card, going first, so good. Especially if your opponent's like hand trapped you as well in the combo, just to get rid of another card out of their hand, be able to see what they have and then watch them try and struggle on by not having as many cards as they should have. This card is incredible. It's so, so good. It can cause your opponent to get really angry though if you just take a random card. Paying the 2k life points is worth it for this card. Being able to see what your opponent has is so good. Drawing it late game really sucks, but as a turn 1 card and seeing this, it's incredible. You get to see what your opponent has. You get to take away either a big interruption card like Dark Ruler No More or a Lightning Storm, or you take away like a key piece of their combo, say like Alistair the Invoker or Block Dragon or something like that, and just rob them of something. Dolphin doesn't quite do the same. Just because you have to run so much commitment to the main deck in order to be able to do it. If you're running the Isolde variant that I just showed you, and you want to run Neo Space Connector and an Aqua Dolphin, brilliant, go for it. All props to you if you pull it off. But the reason Dolphin doesn't quite do the same as a Pointer of the Red Lotus is that a Pointer can take anything. Dolphin can only take monsters with an attack less than the highest thing you control. So it's a very, very restricted. This can take things like Dark Ruler No More. Dolphin isn't really turbo. Dolphin was never used in hero decks, unfortunately. Dolphin was only ever used in Dark Warrior, which is really sucky. It only goes back to them at the end phase. So if you take something like Alistair the Invoker or a monster that they can't use, don't take a hand trap, but take things like a big like Evenly Matched or Dark Ruler No More. Or if they've not changed the Super Poly, you can take that too. And they can't use it for the whole turn, and then you just OTK them back. It's absolutely fine them getting their card back because you've interrupted them for long enough that it becomes very difficult for them to play on. Dimensional Barrier. It's a card that's useful. I personally don't like it at the moment, but I think a lot of players would like to see this. I know what you mean as well with Magical Meltdown, Alistair, and Terraforming being at high numbers. However, I went against an invoked deck in the last regionals I went to and topped it, and I won one of my games because of this card. I flipped it against the invoke guy, and he had both Meltdown and Alistair in his hand, but he also had Gameciel. So I took Gameciel off of him, and then he couldn't out my Darklaw. Because Darklaw was taking too much from him, and I'd set up double Darklaw in the process, and because he couldn't take away my Darklaw by dropping his Gameciel over the top, this just won me the game. It was incredible. Yeah, it's great in the mirror. It's good for pendulum decks. It's good against rituals. You might find some people wanting to play Necros a little bit more now, just because they've got Unicorn back at 3. So this card does have use. Red Reboot. I don't need to talk about this card, do I? This card's incredible. Let's not pretend. This card could win you a game. If you've just flopped this down when you're going full combo against a back row deck, and they've not got a Super Poly set, they're probably dead. It's amazing. And then I just thought I'd put in another couple of choices if you wanted to go first. A lot of people argue with me about going first or going second in Heroes. I think going second is the better choice. Going first, however, still has power. And if you put your deck accordingly and build it correctly, you can still get some good results off of it. And the two cards that I think are really good, Solemn Strike. Solemn Strike especially over things like Solemn Warning, maybe Solemn Judgment, but Solemn Strike especially. Heroes don't have any natural way to negate monster effects, unfortunately. So this card can give you a lot of strength, to be fair. Run it at 3, hopefully see it, maybe draw into it off of a late game Liquid Soldier kind of play to deep draw your deck. But this is a good card. And as a tech choice, you probably won't even recognize this card from its artwork because it's only had one printing and it's from a structure deck. This card is called Zero Day Blaster. You contribute 1 Dark Link monster you control, for example Cross Crusader or Dread Decimator, and then target cards on the field equal to its link rating, and then destroy them. So if you tribute Cross Crusader, this card pops 2. Dread Decimator, this card pops 3. It's like Icarus attack for heroes. So it is a really cute option, and it's a super good budget option too, because this card's worth like $1. It's silly cheap. But in your locals, this card could actually interrupt quite a lot. It's useful. It has some good plays. I don't know if anybody else has got any other ideas on what cards you could possibly side or main as interruption this format. It is an interesting discussion. There's one other card that I was considering as well, like showcasing, and that was Predaplant Vert Anaconda. The only problem with this is heroes want to use their fusion cards to start the combo, not to end with it. However, you could make this and then dump Fusion Destiny and just make a Dystopia under him. That wouldn't be too bad. But I think this card could have future potential. Like you could make Hero Dragun and like put these into your main deck too. Then just having Darklaw and Red Eyes of Dragon on the field would be so strong. Have an Omni Negate monster on the field that can pop two cards on the field in my turn, and have Darklaw to back him up would be amazing. It's not legal yet. It's not even been released yet, but we're expecting it to come in the Tin Wave. So that's why I didn't want to show off Vert Anaconda, just because I don't think he has power yet. But in the future, with things like this, it could definitely see play within Heroes. Definitely see play. But other than that, I think that's probably everything I wanted to like showcase with Heroes. Just the various combos, what you can do with the deck, explaining all of the parts of the deck, and a couple of different variants. So I've explained the normal pure hero and the more link orientated variant of it. There was another one which used like multiple weapons to be able to special summon out level 4s from the deck with Isolde, which I have known people to have success with. There was a guy local to me, and he's topped a couple of regionals using the Appaloosa variant. You basically extend into Appaloosa first, and then follow it up with being able to make a Darklaw, and then you've just got so much for your opponent to work with. Summon Appaloosa on your 5th summon, and then follow it up with either Darklaw or Darklaw and Sunrise, while having things left over in your hand like Miracle Fusion. It's super strong. However, for me personally, I feel the inconsistency gets pushed up a little too high with that deck. But that's just me. You might find yourself having some more success with it yourselves. But I like to go for a main deck that is consistent as possible. Make sure you have a strategy with your deck. So like mine is to go second, prevent my opponent from doing things, and then either OTK or build a board back in response that they then can't get over because they've got no resources left. That's my personal strategy at the moment with Heroes, and I seem to have some good success with it. So I'm hoping that the information I've given you guys today will help you also have success with the deck when we can eventually play again. I know Konami have just released today a press release saying that I can't remember the exact date, but they will be allowing sanctioned tournaments to take place again, but only in those regions where it's starting to become acceptable to do so. So the UK at the moment, we're not looking at that, but places like France, Italy, Germany probably, they're all seeing quite good numbers from coronavirus now. So hopefully they can start getting back some normality, which would be lovely for them. And hopefully, like everybody else doesn't get affected too quickly either as well. It would be nice if people can get back to some normality soon. And I hope it's not affected people too badly either. I know it's been quite restrictive at the moment with having to stay in all the time with quarantine. But we've managed to work our way through it, and I'm hoping everyone's got through it safely. So yes, thank you all for watching anyway, and I'm hoping this is going to provide some helpful information to people. But yeah, so I think that's it for this one, and I'm hoping to see you all later.